This episode of Inside the Game is powered by MSI Gaming. The game just got real. Head to our website at insidethegame.ca for all the details. Alright, so I've already done an intro, but then Sony decides to come out with a state of play, and then Xbox is doing their thing, so I guess we're doing a new intro. Here's the show with the inside scoop. Alright guys, also dropping news today was Inside Xbox. To be honest, felt a little empty going into this one because they didn't really have a lot for this full hour-long show.
Yeah, long one.
It was a long show. It felt a little empty in there, but kicking things off was Atlas coming very soon on October 8th.
Yeah, that was kind of a surprise to all of us, I think. I don't think we really expected at least to get as deep of a dive into this game as maybe we know some of the other games they've shown on here. They really focused this one at the beginning of the show, and it looks really good.
It's the developers of Ark, so they had somebody there to interview, and I think that's kind of helpful to kind of smooth it over because Ark was riddled with some bugs and some issues, so it's good that they had somebody talking about their kind of game plan for that game.
Exactly, yeah.
It was good to see this title. It looked promising, and it's coming to Game Pass as well. A game preview, so it's even get there cheap early while you can, and then when the game releases, you got the full game.
You've got it there for you.
So that's something to take a look at. Then they touched on, and I mean like touched on Project xCloud. It was so disappointing. I'm like, cool, Project xCloud. This is the big news. We're all over Stadia right now, and I feel Xbox is just kind of letting Stadia take this.
They've been really quiet,
right? All that we know is that they're testing, and they're testing in the UK, the US, and Korea. But nothing for us so far.
Nothing for us Northerners, but soon enough, I'm sure.
A couple other little hidden titles in there. We talked about ID at Xbox titles they were bringing. This downhill racing game I thought looked kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely up your alley.
Yeah, I feel those looked pretty interesting.
A pinball game?
Yeah, that could be good.
That's a throwback style game. I haven't seen a pinball game in a while.
But they brought other titles to Inside Xbox that we've already seen releases on trailers, like Hitman 2, their Haven, their latest DLC is coming out. They're talking
more on Breakpoint.
Breakpoint's there again.
Like, it's exciting to see stuff because we're always like, every time I see something on Breakpoint, there's always something new I didn't see before.
Sure.
But again, we're kind of at this point where it's just like, I want the game.
It's right there. It's right around the corner.
Bernthal's just giving us the story. Like, I'm ready to play.
To me, I didn't really feel like there's a lot going on in this one.
No, it was. You know what? They did what they needed to do by talking about everything they had on their list, but there wasn't anything other than, right at the beginning, Atlas kind of wowed us because it was, new. Didn't really know anything about it other than, who's making it, and we get a good view of it. Everything else just kind of, like you said, felt just kind of empty. Like it was just filler.
Yeah. Now there was kind of two standouts for me. There was the Felix game, Felix the Reaper.
Yeah, definitely a really cool looking game.
And coming to Game Pass, I think that's a big deal.
Oh yeah.
And then we have the After Party, which we saw a trailer for, but this one's coming to Game Pass.
We saw it on State of Play, but this one, we're big Xbox guys. The fact that we can access this game that actually looks like it's going to be pretty fun to play. Definitely pretty heavily story-based and conversation-based, but it looks fun.
Creators of Oxenfree, so it's going to be big dialogue-driven and a lot of options. So.
And the fact that you can pick it up on Game Pass makes it that much better to have. And you know what? They're doing this the right way. They're putting the right games on Game Pass to make sure that people are going to purchase that service.
There's that, and of course, probably their biggest go-to was the Outer Worlds coming.
Yeah.
Just around the corner, so they had the devs on there. They were able to talk to them about their
a few questions answered, which is cool.
So it looks like more for you guys than me.
Yeah, not really your style.
I'm not a Fallout kind of guy, right? So for everybody else, if you're a Fallout fan, honestly, I think you're gonna love this game. But to me, man, Inside Xbox they didn't have it compared to the State of Play, which you're gonna see real soon on this episode as well in the news this week. So overall, guys, feeling this one?
Mixed bag, a little excited, but it was a long show, so.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 there's some stuff in there that I'm glad they covered, and, we got to take a first look at some things we didn't know about yet. But again, for the hour long that they gave us, it doesn't feel like they gave us enough content for it, so, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe swing and a miss on this one.
A little bit. I think if they would have been able to shorten it to half an hour, I think it would have been just fine.
Oh, for sure.
Guys, we've been teased all week long by Naughty Dog about something coming up with The Last of Us Part 2, and that's because Sony was coming with the PlayStation State of Play. We're going to give you guys a quick breakdown of what we thought how Sony did with their State of Play.
Hey everyone, it's time for another State of Play. We're really excited to share some great games and surprises with you today.
So State of Play opened up with this little weird title called Humanity, and this was kind of like, you described it as a Lemmings-ish like feel.
Well, that's what I thought it was at first watching this, and then like things transpired as this
Man, it
game
was
trailer
weird.
went on.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, it looks like hordes of people and different, geometric 3D based levels where they kind of look like they can scale all over every type of surface. But it looks like
Yeah.
you're trying to head them towards some sort of final path or goal, and they can, they travel certain ways. But then there was like this one where they just all ran in and looked like they were fighting with lightsabers. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
It was
then there was some combat with like a kind of a tower defense thing. So I
Yeah.
don't know if it's some kind of simulator that you set up all these motion paths to, and then you
I don't
just
know what
play with it
this was.
somehow.
It
I'm
I
not
wasn't
sure.
overly clear on what it was, and I'm still kind of like, I don't know.
I felt
about
it was a strange trailer to open with.
an odd one.
Yeah, but then they followed up with something really incredible, and it was Call of Duty story trailer. Kind of give us a feel of what we're going to be doing with the campaign, and that looks solid as can be.
Oh yeah, well we haven't had a good Call of Duty campaign
No,
story in a
absolutely not.
long time.
Yeah.
And any Call of Duty game we've ever reviewed that didn't have a campaign or had a weak campaign, we definitely talked about it as being, that's a huge draw for people. Not everybody's into the multiplayer, and that
That's
game used to be
huge.
known for its campaign.
Yeah.
Their campaigns were great. It's one of the last games that I actually played the campaign in.
Yeah, we're going back to Modern Warfare, which is usually one of people's favorites.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're finally nailing this kind of character-driven story through it. So hopefully that's kind of a return to what brought everybody on board to begin
It looks
with.
so good.
I liked where it was going. I'm the campaign guy. You guys love the multiplayer as well as the campaign. So for them to follow up with this, I thought it was great. But when they went from this to this Wadham?
I think
yeah.
it's Wadham or
It's
Wadham.
the creators of Katamari. And the Katamari games are a weird, twisted game to start with. So when I watched
Artistic
this
style.
man, I was so confused.
I honestly, like I told you guys earlier, I said I almost stopped and rewound through it to watch it again, but I was so confused the
I didn't
first
wanna
time.
watch
I was
it
like, you
again.
know what? I don't think I could actually figure out anything
No.
more than the blank stare I had on my
This-
face after it was over.
It's such
Yeah.
a bizarre looking title.
I'm not sure if that's meant to be an experience or like a group friend thing.
Like, this will
or
be for
what.
somebody.
It's out there. It's out there somewhere
for
for
Katamari
someone.
fans.
Absolutely.
It's wacky. Something I'd expect from Nintendo. But
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Arise, a simple story was followed up, which I thought was absolutely. You said, Drew, that was like your title.
Oh, as soon as I saw the art style, I was like, Drew will be all over this one.
It's got that pixel or Pixar feel that
Cell
really,
shaded
yeah,
kind of
it's,
look.
it's
Yeah.
really my story, my style. But the story looks like that you go into the afterlife, and then from there you set out on this pretty cool adventure
Oh
looking
yeah,
game. It
the
looked awesome.
environments looked amazing.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. And what the big surprise to me was what Rockstar was up to, and that was bringing LA Noire to the
Yeah.
PlayStation VR.
Yeah,
I did
Case
not see
Files,
that
LA
coming.
Noire Case Files.
Yeah,
And-
that was cool.
Yeah, released on.
Out now.
Yeah.
It's out.
And it looks to be like a solid game, not just like a standalone kind of,
Well,
or a bundle kind of to another game. It's
Yeah.
it's its own VR. Kind
Yeah,
of thing,
it's
with
kind of
its own
Rockstar's
cases.
take on it. They jumped in this VR world that is ever growing,
Yep.
and it looked good.
And do you drive in it? Driving in VR? That's gonna be a whole new thing.
You're gonna be using both wands, I think.
Yeah,
Or you
that's
think
gonna
you're
be-
using the controller?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think in a game like LA Noire, you need a free hand for a gun, possibly.
Well, there's gun
that's
actions
true.
in there, right?
Yeah.
So that looked very cool.
Yeah.
So they started off. I thought they were kind of a bit of a mix going in between, like cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot.
Yeah.
And then we jumped into this montage, and the montage looked pretty sweet. A bunch of games in there. So let's give you a rundown of what was in there. Gorn was announced coming winter. Espire 1 VR Operative looks pretty cool. Stardust Odyssey after the fall coming in 2020. Space Channel 5 VR Medieval demo is out now and coming next month. Civilization franchise is finally making its way to the PlayStation on November 22nd. So a bit of a montage there, and also that was in the montage was this Death Stranding featured console. And to me, I'm already so puzzled by the game
Yeah.
that I can't say I'm honestly that surprised to see a special PS4 Pro
I was
edition.
hoping it would have some explanation, but no, just a console.
Yeah, it was a
I don't
cheese
know.
and a half.
It looked okay, but to me it wasn't anything too special.
It's a white console with some black handprints on it and a see-through yellow controller.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked okay. After Party though looked pretty sweet.
Yeah, that
That
was.
game
That's
looks
quirky.
wild,
It looks
man.
fun. It looks
What
like
a
lot of fun.
surprise! At the beginning of it, I was kind of like hesitant to open myself up to it. But then the weird story and everything about it.
I think it's gonna be very character driven in that one.
Oh, absolutely.
And it looked funny. It looks like some good times.
Then we got a sneak peek into October's PlayStation Plus games.
Yeah.
I was floored.
I can't believe this one.
It's awesome. So we have already reviewed it. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out on InsideTheGame.ca where we reviewed MLB The Show 19.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it's
coming to PlayStation Plus
already.
Unreal. I thought that was fantastic. And then, of course, a little tease before the final ending for the State of Play was the fact that The Last of Us Remastered will also be coming to the PlayStation Plus. I thought that was cool. So definitely two titles.
Huge titles.
Oh, those are massive titles.
Huge titles.
Absolutely. Well done on PlayStation for getting those out there. I can't believe that's what Sony's coming up with.
Yeah, it's awesome.
October is a great month if you're on PlayStation. And then the big reveal that I've been waiting for, teased all week long for it, was The Last of Us Part 2 trailer.
And that trailer looked amazing. Oh my.
Oh man.
It was wild.
It was good. So here, check it out.
Look who decided to join us. All right. You all know the drill. Run your routes. Mark your logbooks. You run into anything you can't handle.
Ellie!
You come back.
Dino, where are you? Get off me! Please stop! No!
Tommy, I have to finish it.
You have no idea what you're walking into.
What are you doing?
You don't know how large that group is, how armed.
I don't care. You can't stop this. What the hell are you doing here?
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
All right, so that was the trailer for The Last of Us Part 2, man. Like, I got goosebumps. That
Right?
thing-
Yeah.
That was so fantastic. So you guys, unfortunately, are bozos and haven't played the first one. I played that, plus the multiplayer, so I'm hoping that they're going to bring multiplayer back. They haven't said a word as far as multiplayer goes for Last of Us Part 2. It's all been focused on the story and the fact that this time, last time it was about love, this time the story is about hate. So Ellie's coming back with a vengeance.
Vengeance
man.
is the word.
She is out to wreck people. And the highlight for me was the fact that Joel came in at the end of that trailer. I'm like, okay, good. Whew, he's still there.
Still
That
there.
was awesome. But now we're playing as Ellie this time, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big focus. And I can't wait. Coming February 21st, 2020. Now, I'm a little speculative here. Does that mean we're getting a PlayStation 5 before? Because this is Sony's huge title. Could you imagine if
Release game?
you get The Last of Us Part 2 with your PlayStation 5?
Oh, that would sell it.
Oh, you want to knock out Xbox? That's what you do right there,
Yeah,
man. You
that's
can seal
true.
the deal.
That's true.
You absolutely seal that deal.
Yeah, that'd be a
Right?
big move for them.
Huge
Big
move. I was impressed. Overall, guys, state of the play, what do you think of this little 20-minute teaser?
I'm very impressed. That's a lot of things packed into it. So it was a lot more than I'm used to kind of seeing from the state of plays. So that was a big deal for me.
Yeah, there was definitely some big titles on this one. Obviously, the Call of Duty was a big one for me. I was excited to see. Yeah, I think you touched on it. Hot, cold, hot, cold.
Yeah.
You know, finishing off on a really good one. So, you know what? Overall, I think it was a good state of play, and I'm excited to see some of these games that are coming out.
Yeah, I'm right there with both of you guys. Again, hot, cold, or cold, hot, whatever, which way. But at the end, when you got the Call of Duty feel, and then you end off with such a bang with The Last of Us Part 2 with a huge fan with me, I was sold. I thought this was probably one of their best state of plays so far. I'm looking forward to see what else they have up their sleeve. All right, Nate, we're hitting the hardwood in this one.
Jay, Coach said you were being held out for a violation of team rules. Care to comment?
It ain't easy watching your brother fall like that, but hey, this is what we work for, all right?
Look, Jay, Coach took my scholarship, man.
I've been your advisor for 4 years. If you really want them to hear you, you gotta be willing to sacrifice.
It was a choice.
You chose to sit out.
I chose to stand up.
Nate, you and I jumped into NBA 2K20. This is a long-time franchise that I've dabbled into, and this year, I really kind of dove in head first. What'd you think?
So, me too. I haven't played a basketball game, so the last one I owned was NBA Live 2001.
Oh, man.
64. Woo. Pretty sure I still have that great cartridge.
Wow, eh?
So that was the one I actually played. I might have played one in the last since then. I don't even think I have. Wow. So anyways, I've always heard of this NBA 2K being really good, and I was like, I don't know. I like basketball, but whatever. So hopping in though, so I hopped right into the story mode to start, and
that's where you should start.
Absolutely, because it is fantastic. So the story kind of starts off you being in college.
Yeah.
And you kind of have this relationship with your coach where it's not the best. You kind of nudge heads.
Yeah, you do really kind of bash heads, and it's kind of this you coming within your own, and then your coach is kind of this rivalry back and forth, but in the end, it kind of balances out and stuff. And it was a unique story. I found it, honestly, to be a little slow to get going.
All right, let's go. Jay, did you get the tip time? Come on, good change, let's go.
I can't do that, Coach.
Excuse me? Whatever point you think you're making, son, now is not the time. You are the captain of this team. Better act like it.
I believe I am, Coach.
Oh. All right. Ty, take the team out.
Right near the beginning, one of my favorite things is you do a 1v1 with Kawhi Leonard.
Sure.
And both of us didn't beat it, but so his kind of response to you losing was, I actually laughed. I know you didn't like it, but I laughed.
The dude didn't say a word. Not one word. I'm like, man, you got Kawhi in here. I'm like, this is cool. But the other stars you see in the game actually have voice acting in the game.
And it's really good, man. I was blown away by just how much cinematics there was. Most of it was, you kind of just sitting and watching a movie, and then getting to play a couple, 2v2s, 3v3s, and then a couple kind of games,
I like the choices that popped up within the story, too. They kind of had a bit of repercussions in certain situations. I thought was kind of cool.
Did you talk back to your coach?
I did not.
Oh, me neither. I thought you would.
No, I didn't do that. There's a couple of different things I did. I thought, man, I wouldn't mind playing that again just to see the outcome from the other side, right? But graphically,
it's incredible. So you're on the Pro and I'm on the regular PS4.
Yes.
And outstanding. For my character animations, honestly, the face at times, just for some reason, the long shots, his eyes got a little kind of funny looking, but all the other real people that they've reanimated look incredible.
Tighten that elbow, kid. Whoa, what's up, Kimber? What you doing in town, man? I thought you had a sickness tomorrow.
Just checking up on you. How you holding up?
Man, I'm good, man. Just waiting on a call, I guess.
Most of my time, though, I felt was split up between my career, my team, and then jumping into the neighborhood. And bouncing between all these three was hard to kind of juggle because I didn't know where to go first. Especially when I first started the game. So normally, that's what I said, I've dabbled in the 2K basketball series, NBA, for years. But I've never really dove in to focus and actually build my character. I started my character and kind of faded out. This time around, I started my character, and that meant I finished the whole story. I'm on to this, I'm on to that. I got my whole team started. So my team, it's a card collecting system, but it's so cool because then you actually go out and use those cards, those players that you acquire, to compete and upgrade those characters, or players in this sense. So I had Vince Carter. I got the...
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I got Dwayne Wade, I've got Anthony Davis, I got all the big stars because I got the big pack for the game. So to use those guys, I'm just upgrading, right? And I'm dominating. And then you go in. Cool. Yeah, it's just, but I go in to play a 3-on-3 for my team. And the atmosphere, when I did that, just went real quiet, which kind of takes away because when you're playing a basketball game, especially when you're in the neighborhood, man, there's always buzz going around. There's always some kind of ambience of background noise or something. But when I went into my team and played that, the 3-on-3, it was just, man, I can almost hear like a pin drop. Like I was this is kind of ghostly. I didn't like that because in a basketball game, it's a sporting event. So give me the hype. Bring that hype to the table, right? That's the only downfall I have within the game.
Pre-game routine's coming to an end. We're just about ready for our tip-off. First, though, let's get a report from the sideline and say hello to David Aldridge.
And guys, some background on
Nate, if you're going to wrap up NBA 2K20, what are you scoring this one, buddy?
So we've obviously,
gushed
a little bit about this game. So all in all, I loved it. The story mode completely swept me off my feet and caught me off guard. And then with the amount of different game types that are there, I'm going to give this game a 9.
This is definitely an addiction that it can keep you going on for a very long time with so many different game types, from the cards, from the My Team, to My Career, to the whole neighborhood system, and so many customizational options. It is phenomenal. I'm there with a 9. The NBA 2K series is back for another strong season. With a focus on player attributes, this new attention to detail really makes your player feel it's yourself within the game. A solid story campaign and lots of game modes and events, there is always something to strive for.
Okay, so what do I tell her?
Well, Che, you're a professional now. You say thank you and goodbye. I gotta go. I'm double parked in a handicap.
So this week we're covering Rainbow Six Siege Canadian Nationals 2019 Stage 2 Week 2, and it was another great night of competitive Siege. To get you up to date on how the league works, it's broken up into 2 stages, with the first one being completed earlier this year. Team Canada won this with not much surprise and secured their place for the finals that are taking place later this year at EGLX. All these teams are ultimately competing for quite a bit of money, as the first place team will win $10,000 and the fourth place team will win $500. Last week, after some amazing games that you can catch the highlights to on our previous episode, Supernova and Psychopaths Gaming secured their spots into Week 3. The first matchup that I'm hopping into right now is Momentum against Livid Gaming. Livid Gaming has a strong lineup with some players that have been seen in the past in the Canadian Nationals. I can speak from personally watching these guys that they are a force to be reckoned with, a team comprised of some Rainbow Six Siege stars. Momentum, on the other hand, is comprised of some CSGO pros and friends just trying to sway their momentum, we'll say, in another game. The first match was quite a match, with Livid Gaming showing that they were ready to play. The 3 maps selected were Clubhouse by Momentum, Border by Livid Gaming, and the third being Consulate. On Clubhouse, it turned out to be quite the slaughterhouse, with Livid winning 7-2. Momentum could not keep up with Mustache, who really shined overall this evening. Mustache had a lot of plays where it really just showed why he is actually in the pros. Unfortunately, the second game didn't fare any better news because right away Livid went up 5 rounds in a row and then eventually won the match 7-2 again. Momentum couldn't gain any traction sadly in both the matches. The banded gameplay on Livid Gaming side kept Momentum's Thermite from really ever getting a good playoff. My only input is maybe using Hibana would have been a better option. Well, we'll never know. But let's continue watching the highlights from the first matchup. Heading into the second match, we have Old Man Club versus Team Yes. This was a little bit less of a blow-up, but not so much in the first map. The first map, Yes came out swinging strong and won 7-2. The 7-2 score seemed like the continuing trend in a lot of tonight's games. But the second map was not at all the same. Old Man Club put out a lot more of a fight, bringing the match all the way to the end with a 6-7 loss in overtime. They were back and forth almost the entire time, but when it came to the last round, they couldn't pull it off. This sadly gets them kicked from the Canada Nationals for the rest of this year, but hopefully next year we'll get to see more from them because they really they did a great job. So wrapping things up, we have Supernova up against the Psychopaths Gaming on next week's show, and then Livid Gaming up against Team Yes. Looking forward to both of those matchups, and stay tuned for next week's episode to get the rundown and highlights. Now let's finish this off with some highlights from Old Man Club versus Team Yes.
All right, Scott, summer's finally over, and we're into the new hockey season. We're into the new EA Sports NHL 20.
The Canadians start with possession as we are now underway. Looking to make something happen in the offense.
Scott, we're here with the new EA Sports NHL 20 game, the newest NHL game in the NHL franchise. What did you think? You've been out of the franchise for a little while. So
Yeah.
what do you think about this new iteration of the game?
Well, I haven't seen a hockey game since probably 2013. So before that, 2011, 2007.
So we're talking a little while back now.
It's getting far back now. Yeah, I remember when the twin sticks action was new. So
We've moved,
had to kick the dust off.
Yeah, quite a ways since then too now.
Yeah, oh yeah. So the package, just as an overall, the very first thing you see is all these game modes that they've packed into this game that are all alien to me, but the more I find out about them, the more excited I am. So.
Yeah, that's the nice thing. So they brought a lot of new game modes into the game last year, and they've carried most of them over this year and added a few new ones. The nice thing is right as you open up the game, they give you a list of all the game modes and say, all right, pick the 4 most popular ones that you're going to use. So seasoned NHL players will go through and pick the modes that they like to play the most. And what happens is you can pin them to your home screen. So every time you start up the game, the most popular modes you have will be played there. And
very self-aware.
Yeah, you can just select them and jump right in. Which is awesome. But the problem is in this game, every once in a while, if you get into it, there's a lot of menus in this game.
Yes.
And you find, especially new players, are going to find themselves getting lost in some of these menus. They try their best to kind of direct you around where you need to go.
There was enough explanation on the screen that you can kind of figure out what the game modes are. But when you're trying to get to that old, the hockey style that I played and
just
back
versus
in 2013,
head-to-head,
yeah, that was a little daunting to find, other than just a play now mode. But I found myself making a character, making an offline or official character and an unofficial character, a kind of amateur, and complicated but enough creativity and customization that I was able to make a guy that was kind of cool and
They've
kind of
added
my own.
a lot of customization to the game this year.
Yeah.
So last year we got a little bit of the emote side of things because we're getting that in all games nowadays. Oh, thank you, Fortnite. Right? It's just the way it goes. But you know, in this game, they've added so many new emotes into the game. I play a lot of EA Sports Hockey League myself, which is a club-based style of gameplay where you get to actually make your character and you can play with your friends on a team that you create against opposing teams, which is a blast. It's a game mode I found very popular for myself and my friends over the last few years that we've used the game. But this year they kind of do like a pre-game intro where they show the team before the game and they'll show the team you're playing and then your team. And you have all these like ridiculous emotes you can choose from. So it makes your team look really goofy or you can look really serious if you want to, depending on the the vibe you're looking to go at. And that was a huge change from last year. And you know what? Just the cinematics overall of how they present the game, the gameplay, the replays, it's a world of difference compared to last year. The replays last year were terrible. They'd be showing a replay of a penalty and it wouldn't even show the penalty. It would show another part of the ice where nobody was at. Like the camera angles were everywhere. So they made a note before and said, we're looking into replays. We're going to, make a fix. We'll blow you away this year. And you know what? They haven't let me down because in EA Sports Hockey League and some of the other modes, at the end of every period, they do like a highlight play now.
Yeah, where they show
which
you
is awesome. Whether it's a
cool
goal or a hit or anything like that. There's always a highlight pack throughout each, intermission, but this one's like a highlight of the period. And what happens is it'll show it in kind of a low camera angle on the ice. Your guy might be skating down the ice, and then it'll kind of break into a quick slow-mo. Might be laying a huge hit or ripping a big slap shot, and it's like slow motion, then it pulls out of slow motion, and the play finishes, and it just looks awesome.
I got a lot of those.
They did
big
such
hits.
a good move on this year. It was a huge addition, and honestly, it was as funny as you might think. It's not that big of a deal. When you're playing a hockey game, there's a ton of intermissions, there's a ton of replays, so you're looking at this stuff all the time, so they can keep it fresh. Then it's just that much more enjoyable when you're playing the game, and especially if it's highlighting something that maybe you did. You're just like, all right, well, I'm the best guy out here. Let's try to go get the highlight for the next period.
See, I found some of those to be really interesting, and I liked the replays and the detail in it. Now, I found sometimes in the other kind of cutscenes and cinematics, there was a little bit of weirdness. So the jerseys kind of popping around.
Yeah, there's
or
still some things
shoulders.
that just aren't as smooth as you maybe want them to, especially since you're playing a game that they recreate every year in and year out.
And many years have gone by. I kind of thought they would iron that kind of stuff out. Now, I noticed they've kind of improved some of the other surrounding things. So the ice surface looks great.
Oh, yeah.
All the surroundings look beautiful. The different arenas are from what I believe, accurate and well represented. And then it gets to the weird kind of character animations, but they're good enough. They're definitely passable. They look good.
For sure, yeah.
They definitely look good in stills as well.
Oh, yeah.
But the crowd, they've kind of upgraded the crowd as well. So
the crowd looks much better even this year compared to last year.
Yeah, we're up to Xbox 360 graphics crowd members now, which I remember back in the day, that was the hardest thing to
They used to just
put
be
in
2D cardboard, and sometimes they didn't even move.
Yeah.
Now, we're getting the 3D models. Last year we did too, but you're noticing a lot more fan interaction and not as much fan repetition when it comes to, you know, the same character model over and over again.
The different
you get
parts
the,
of the
you know,
crowd
the fanatic fans in the crowd where the guys are, you know, face painted out, or you'll get people wearing jerseys, all different kinds of jerseys from your team. So they did a really good job this year of kind of just, you know, picking all the finer details out and being like, all right, we had a good game last year, but what can we do to make it better? Let's involve, you know, a better player experience overall, and that means the crowd. That means, oh, you know, the 400 different types of goal horns you can choose for your guy when he scores a goal. And let me tell you, some of them are ridiculous. There's dolphins and there's cows. And I'm telling you, there's so many different sounds you get in this game. There isn't anything they haven't thought of when it comes to customizing your player or your team. All right, Scott, so we've made it to the peak of Hockey Mountain, EA Sports NHL 20. If we got to rate this one, what are you going to give it?
Oh, I'm blown away by this edition. I didn't know about any of the hiccups in the previous games, but I'm glad they got ironed out. As far as I can tell, the presentation of it's beautiful. Just a little bit of some pop-in issues and whatever, but overall, this game is amazing. So I got to give this an 8.5 for me.
Awesome. You know what? I'm right there with you as a seasoned NHL guy. I get this game every year. I'm waiting to the second week of September. This is the one I'm getting. And you know what? They didn't let me down. They've improved the game enough from last year's game because, I mean, let's get real here. You make a sports game every year, it's hard to make it that much different.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is bringing in these ones eliminators, threes eliminator modes, you know, just opening up the game to more people. And to me, I think that's improving a game. And the gameplay just feels great. I love the replays. For me, that was huge. So, like, they won me over once I saw the first replay. So, you know what? I'm going to be right there with you with an 8.5.
NHL 20 does a great job at reinventing their successes from their previous entries. They've revamped the skating and player animations to allow for a smoother, more fluid experience. The variety of game modes to choose from will be sure to allow anyone to find a game type that fits their playstyle. From the customization of players and teams, you'll find yourself sinking a lot of time into the newest version of EA Sports NHL 20.
Alright, so this week for the mobile mention, we're going with Pokemon Go. This game may only be a few years old, but wow, it is still getting heavily updated with so many things to do between battling with your friends, catching tons of Pokemon, doing special battle raids or special events. This game is totally worth checking out. For me, I was a big Pokemon fan growing up, kind of fell out of it a bit, but then my friends were playing. It's like, hey, download it. And I did, and I'm hooked. I can't even believe it. I've sunk hours into this. It's totally worth checking out.
Nate, man, brace yourself because winter's coming.
Cutting me down.
Nate, you and I jumped in over on the Switch to play Vambrace Cold Soul, which is also out on PS4 and Xbox One. What'd you think going in?
So for me, I actually was pretty shocked with this game because I'm not very familiar with this kind of fantasy RPG, like, I don't want to say roguelike because it's not that, but when your companions can die.
Yeah, that never returning companionship is always... The permadeath is always a kind of a concern, right? It's something to be concerned about. When you're playing Vambrace, the style honestly reminds me of a combination of Darkest Dungeon with Game of Thrones, which was, just finished up Game of Thrones. I really jumped in and gravitated to this. The characters, I love the art style, first of all.
Me too.
Going in. And the story revolves around this woman who is in search of answers for her father. And she's been given this Vambrace, which is this kind of like bracelet that kind of straps to her arm and allows her to penetrate into certain walls and things that others are captivated behind and can't escape from. But because she has this mechanism on her arm, it allowed her to go in, and that's what her whole overall goal is, to find these answers. And then from there, she's sent on other tasks, and then you grow your party, and then you lose some of your party, and then you go in. Man, the game, honestly, though, is hard.
It is very difficult. Like, hopping in right away, I was just playing on standard, and I've lost, I don't even know how many companions, honestly, at this point. Like, I just because there's a learning curve to this game. Right away, let's just go with the combat, okay? So it's not very complicated But within the basic, like you do this attack and it has this effect, there are so many debuffs and buffs that kind of happen, and I'm just like, it's hard to keep track because there's so many symbols and they don't really explain it very well, I find.
You get like a brief tutorial at the beginning, and then you're thrown in to do it and solve the kind of this combination of the battle system, right? And you're right there. You're set up with a 4-man party kind of thing, or a 4-person party against sometimes 3 or 4 others. And depending on where your party members are stationed, is the amount of attacks they can kind of go in. So if you have a ranger, you put them at the back, they can then shoot all the way to the very back. But if you have someone who's more of a melee character and you have them at the back, that's not a good spot for them because they are only going to be able to penetrate so far down that line. If you're looking to get to the very back person because they are a ranger on the enemy side, you're not going to be able to move that far. Then you can only move 2 slots. So there's some strategy in how you position your crew.
Definitely that is super important. And
yeah, absolutely.
Building your crew. Because you don't want to have just 4 tanks, so to speak. Because guess what? It won't work. I found out pretty early that a healer is very important in this game.
Well, there's a lot of factors come into building your party. You got to worry about sleight. You got to worry about who's got what for weapons, the damage they output. You got to worry about people who can sense the ability of traps as you're traversing the cities and other areas that you kind of go through and stuff. There's a lot of depth in the game.
Yes.
For something I thought was cheaply priced. Not to sound rude or anything.
No.
But the value you get out of this game was blowing me away because I think this game ranges around $25. I want to say it is, which to me, for the amount of content that's involved in here and the amount you have to actually do and you can really invest in the game is really mind-blowing to me that they're kind of giving away to steal.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So 2 key factors in this game while you're playing is you need to constantly monitor your health and your vigor.
Yes.
Because if they go down to 0, either one of them, for either your main character or your companions, they will perish.
Yeah.
So, health, I mean, it's kind of a given. You can heal them while you're at campsites, which you have to do in between battles, and you have to find, and they're very important.
Very important, and then you need an overwatch, because you can get ambushed while you're out camping as well. So the rest of your party will kind of rest and stuff, but then you have a person set to overwatch who will oversee everybody, make sure everything's okay.
So again, kind of like we had mentioned before, that's when it goes to building your team. You need to have kind of, it's just a very well-rounded team in my opinion.
Yeah, you can't just go one-sided because you're just going to get slaughtered because you're not going to benefit from all the factors that are involved within the game because there's so much to worry about all the time. There's never, I didn't really feel like there's much of a calm when you're out doing the battles and trying to traverse things. So very early on, I got lost. You get your objectives, you go to your map, and the way the map pulls out reminds me very of an old school Zelda title.
Yes.
Right, like old school Zelda or old school Final Fantasy, way back in the day. Like I'm talking like PlayStation, like way early days talking. But you get this, which isn't really my style, so I kind of have a hard time when I'm doing that, right? But either way, it is what it is. But you get into it, and then you go and traverse this map after you go through the city and trying to get from one location to the next location. And I found myself, because you're only going side-scrolling, there aren't so many ways to kind of get lost, but at the same time, I got lost because I'm trying to go through this door to get to this location, but I pop out at some other door, which would put me back in the same spot I was already at. So
I found the exact
which
same
was
issues.
Frustrating to me.
It's because, like you said, there's a map and it kind of shows it to you, but you're like, okay, there's a door pointing up and a door to the right.
Yeah.
But then for some reason, it gets screwed up and you're like, oh, this one will go this way, and it doesn't.
Oh yeah.
And the biggest problem with this is when you go from room to room, your vigor goes down every time. So that, like I said, your vigor goes down to 0, you're dead. And on top of this, also we forgot to mention, is that there's the ghosts, the undead, that are slowly kind of getting closer to you. So the more each room you go in, this little bar again fills up. And the problem with this is once it gets to a certain point, they just constantly attack you. So it's just, it gets so hard. You gotta be very mindful. It's not, you can't just go room to room searching everything, because if you do that, you're just gonna end up shooting yourself in the foot.
Which is frustrating because in this game, you need to go room to room to room because while you travel through all these rooms, you're coming across loot and you're building up your
Yes.
party's inventory, and you got to manage. That's another aspect you have to manage within the game, is the amount of inventory you carry, your party carries, and what you're carrying. And then as you got all this stuff, then you run into these random battles all the time. And it just, I honestly felt a lot of defeat within the game. Instead of moving me forward, I was getting like 1 step forward and 2 steps back.
Yeah, it is a very punishing game,
Yeah.
but within it, for only $25, man, it is a sweet priced game.
All right, Nate, so jumping into Vambrace, the Cold Soul, I found there was frustrating moments within the game. Difficulty there is hard when you're trying to traverse and manage so much all at once. There was a bit of a lack of a learning curve there as well. They didn't teach you how to manage as much as I would have liked to.
Yeah.
But with all that inventory and stuff and how they do teach you, and then you get into voice dialogue, which is just dialogue because there's no voiceovers within the game, and the game has heavily focused on a lot of reading, which unfortunately for some of us isn't really what we're after sometimes, right? Overall though, beautiful game. I really dug the story. I thought the story was really compelling. Sound quality is fantastic. I'm there with a 7.
Man, I'm pretty close to you. I actually, pretty much all the same points, man. The graphically, when you're doing the side scrolling and you're in the battles, it's fun. The action's fun, and like be able to create your companion, or sorry, choose your companions.
Yeah.
Be able to do that and having that high risk that they're gonna die. I do like it. It can't be in every game, but
No.
you know, with this game, it was perfect. I'm there with a 7.5.
Nice.
Vambrace Cold Souls is a tough survival-esque RPG bringing to light the importance of having a well-rounded team. With a wide variety of different characters to choose from to be your companions and the importance of picking them to make your team successful, this game offers a lot of depth. Though the tutorials aren't always the most explanatory, they are there, and truthfully, the game is meant to be experimented with in choosing your party and inevitably losing some of them. The story is creative and draws you in, while the visuals and audio also all complement all of this to really just captivate you in this awesome game.
Nate, is this Baldur's Gate? It's been an eternity.
I'd heard the Dyrwood was a savage land. I believed it when they killed a god. But even they didn't deserve the punishment that followed.
All right, Scott, so this week we're reviewing Pillars of Eternity, and what did you think of this absolutely massive, beautiful game?
Giant game, big release on the Switch. Now this is a very big game for the Switch, so it was kind of daunting to take a look at this whole package. So this game originally came out in March 2015. And that's when Pillars of Eternity was big. It just blew up. Everybody was waiting for that Baldur's Gate kind of experience, and it totally delivered on that front.
Absolutely.
Now, we're here finally again with the Switch package of it. It's got all the DLC in it, and it's a repackaged product, and it's now out for everybody to enjoy. So we got deep into this one, and found out that it's such a story-driven game. So I didn't know anything about Baldur's Gate beforehand. My pre-knowledge of this one was very low. So jumping into this, it's an ocean of a universe.
Oh yeah, man. So for me, unlike you, when I was very young, it was one of the first games I ever actually played on PC was Baldur's Gate. So hopping into this, it completely brought me back to that, and in a great way. It's very modernized, but at the same time, you have to realize when you go into this game, it is a 20-year-old style gameplay. So it's not going to be super fluent like maybe Diablo 3. It
was a little clunky,
clunky, but I actually appreciate it because it kind of gives you that option to do the well, almost like a mouse cursor option. So you can pause the time, choose your guys to do what to do individually or whatever, or you can just do it all in real time where you're just kind of individually controlling them with the analog stick.
I like that, yeah. So I like the controls to this game because there's a lot of things that you have to do and a lot of these like menus to kind of manage for your party and each character. And I found that even though I was new, it fell into line pretty well. All the controls seemed to be, after, at least they paused it. As long as they paused the combat for me, that auto pause saved me. So that was a good move, whoever decided to put that in there, because you're moving all these characters around, and it's a very classical RPG. So you have to have the kind of formation set up of where you want your characters. You want your tanks in the front line and that kind of thing. And you want
in the back, archers or whatever.
Yeah, and you have to use, similar to Mass Effect, you have a wheel and you have to choose their abilities to kind of target enemies. And that's how you play the combat out. You're kind of just managing the group of players. And I kind of like that. I kind of fell into that really easily.
Yeah, me too.
But the game is very difficult because it's a classical RPG. So there's all these numbers going off and all these different spells and different protocols you want your guys to follow. And it gets really messy in some of these dungeons. But I found that at least your guys weren't dying totally dead. Although that is a difficulty mode that would be a little too hard for me. But so at least this game kind of knows what it is. It knows it's really big, it knows it's really difficult, it knows it's a port, but they've figured out the controls properly, and they've given you enough difficulty options to kind of at least experience the game if you're not going to play it like a hardcore player.
Oh, absolutely, because if you hopped into hard like I did right away, you learn very well. Unless you're a very experienced player, in my opinion, in this genre, you're better off just to play almost on easy, honestly. Like, I'm a stubborn person. I do not like playing games on easy.
No, me neither.
But for this, it's almost recommended, because another thing, too, is this game kind of wants you to play through more than just once. Because it's not just, there's so much customization within the characters. Just alone when you start the game.
I was blown away by the options. The fact that there's races and subclasses in those races, and each of them have access to the classes that you could be, and they all have different body types,
and all this expanding, like we said earlier, on this just tremendous amount of lore that's within this game. So it's pretty cool. Off the hop, I chose a godlike character, and it was the death godlike. So when you interact with people later on throughout the game, or you just right away pretty much, people don't typically like you if you're the death godlike, because you're kind of like this shunned race that, you know, typically those people are to themselves. And
nobody really kind of understands what's going on. And
yeah, whereas you're a wood elf when you started.
Yeah, I had my first character was a wood elf, and everybody was just not really interested in me at all. It was a very unassuming, just kind of not dangerous looking elf, I guess, and everybody wanted to be my friend, but
it adds so much when just even picking your character changes so much later on in the game. Just little things like that.
Just the way people react to you. Yeah, there's it exemplifies it very early on too. There's choice to this game. You can choose to talk to all these people and all these NPCs, and you can choose to omit certain things and hold on to some secrets. And that might change it later on, because if you just spill the beans on what you saw or what you know, who you are or whatever's going on, they might take offense to that, or whatever you just told them might be dangerous to them, and it totally changes the aspects of the game. There's a character you meet right off the start, and I don't know if he's going to be a recurring character, because when I find him, he's going to die. But he betrayed his friend. The first time I went through this game, I talked to him, and he tells me the sad story about how he lost his friend and he doesn't know what to do now. I ended up making a new character. My wood elf didn't turn out so well, so I made a moon godlike. Went through that area again, talked to him, had the full conversation, went and investigated his story, and he straight up lied to you. So these characters have all these little backstories, all these different little avenues where you can interrogate them. If I had the right skills right off the start, I could have just broken down his defenses and interrogated him right off the start. There's a lot of these skill checks. All these dynamic conversations. It just blew me away, and a lot of them have voice acting.
5 wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night.
So in addition to the voice acting, there's also a lot of really good audio cues in this game. The music overall matches kind of what you're doing. If you go into a crypt or like an underground area, it changes. And it was all in the kind of fantasy style music, but it was good. It pumped me up, and I liked it.
Very kind of old school, but again modernized, like most of this game, and often just they do change the music just slightly. They would add maybe just an instrument when you maybe had started this one part of the conversation with somebody, and where it kind of sends like this chill down your spine. Like they actually nailed the audio with this game, and the visuals, the graphics within Pillars of Eternity is amazing, man.
Yeah, for a Switch title, you can zoom in and out, and all your party running around, and there's effects that happen on the screen and stuff sometimes. Nothing too crazy, but I didn't expect it to really look that good. You look across the landscape and you can see like vines on a bridge, and you can go walk up to those vines, interact with them, learn all about them. Maybe if it tells you have, if I had a hook, I could climb here. There's just little visual cues to kind of let you know that you can do a lot of things to the map. And the map itself is really big too.
Oh, it's huge.
And this is giant continent you're going through.
Oh, it's, again, just such a massive game. And then, since we're playing on the Switch, it's the complete game, like we had mentioned. So there is some DLC throughout it. And the way it works is it's not you have to beat the game and then it unlocks the DLC. It's actually kind of placed as you level up. So the first DLC, the snowy one, which I'm having a hard time remembering. But anyways, it adds just a ton of different visuals again. Like the game, most areas look different, but this again, they kind of added this, like, I want to say Icewind Dale, snowy, mountainy feel. And it kind of just, again, spiced up the game that much.
Yeah, that nice breath of fresh air into it. Well, Nate, we've talked about this game quite a bit. Pillars of Eternity is just this giant package. What do you think about this one jumping in?
So this game, honestly, like I had mentioned before, it's really kind of brought me back to when I was a kid, but at the same time not bearing all those classic game issues. So it's just this modernized classic genre of a game, just perfectly made. So graphically, everything, I loved it. It's getting a 9 out of 10, man.
9 out of 10, that's pretty solid. I have to agree with a lot. The nostalgia wasn't quite there for me, but the gameplay was. And even if it was hard, it kind of pushed me away. I'm into the storylines and all the different characters and how they all interact and the big web of that experience. So it looks good, plays really fun for me, sounds really good. I gotta give this one an 8.5.
After getting our hands on Pillars of Eternity, we conclude that this game is a massive game package and a classical RPG that's just perfect on the Switch.
You believe you are in control, but I wonder, where will your choices lead us?
Scott, there's another episode in the books. Now, you guys hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca. We're there. We highlight you with one of your clips. Who do we have this week, buddy?
This time we have Divine Karoo sending someone to space.
Cool, let's check it out.
Come